For one, Trump isn't going to make the post office private. If he was going to make it private, he would have done it when he was president. It also takes Democrats and Republicans to make it private. Trump can't do it alone.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
We have another caller on the line, this one from a 715 area code. 715 area code. Oh, shoot. I meant to ask the Nebraska caller about Dan Osborne. Gosh, dang it. Oh, well. Hey, if you're still listening, caller from Nebraska, put in the chat. I want to know your thoughts about Dan Osborne. Okay, this caller from a 715 area code. 715 area code. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Harley, and I'm calling from Wisconsin.
Charlie from Wisconsin. What's on your mind?
Harley with an H.
Harley from Wisconsin. Sorry. Harley from Wisconsin. What's on your mind?
It's okay. Basically, I want to talk about what that previous caller just talked about and some of the things that you were saying and things you were saying earlier in your show today.
Mm-hmm.
For one, Trump isn't going to make the post office private. If he was going to make it private, he would have done it when he was president. It also takes Democrats and Republicans to make it private. Trump can't do it alone. Okay? And also, we don't produce more oil under Joe Biden. You're wrong on that.
Well, I'm not, actually. But just really quickly on the privatization thing.
Yes, you are.
I'm not.
Yes, you are wrong on it. Yes,
but
you are.
On the privatization point.
Joe Biden canceled the Keystone Pipeline when he became president. He stopped the Keystone Pipeline. You're wrong.
That is... Harley, I don't. You seem emotional and upset, and I, hope that we
because
can
you're
have
wrong.
I hope that we can have a discussion. But I'm not wrong.
I'll calm down. I'll slow down. We'll take turns.
Yeah, that was one pipeline that Biden did stop the construction of. There was no oil going through the Keystone Pipeline. So the fact that this pipeline that was under construction, that was not built, no oil was going through it, that did not affect oil production. And there were other things that have gone through. And it is just the case that if you look on aggregate, the United States produces more oil than we did before. So, we can have debates about the Keystone Pipeline. We can say that was right or that was wrong or whatever. But on aggregate, it is just the case that the U.S. produces more oil. But on the privatization front, I understand that... I understand that it is true that you do you would probably have to have at least the Republican Party. If the Republicans take the House, I wonder if you could push forward a privatization plan under reconciliation through the Senate. I don't know if you could or not. I don't know if you would have to overcome the filibuster or what, but you do have to get more than Trump on board. But, privatization is part of the Republican economic program generally. Like, that is just something that Republicans and sometimes Democrats too, we should not have any illusions about either party, but sometimes Democrats are like, quiet about it, or they say it like reluctantly, and Republicans will say it like excitedly, and that this is a good thing. But the Trump administration did in 2018 put forward a plan to privatize the Postal Service. And if there is a trifecta and they are able to get this through reconciliation, again, I don't know. I would have to check that. I don't know about the Senate rules or whatever, but that could happen. If I were to bet, I don't know if it would happen. I would probably bet, if I had to bet, that it would not happen. I would probably bet that they will not be able to privatize the Postal Service because of some of the reasons that Joel talked about earlier in the program, because of the postal unions and the backlash that it would pursue. But I think it is scary to empower a person who would want to do that, and a person who comes from a party that does that. We just talked about last week how, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has done this SB 256, which has been decertifying unions without elections left and right. And at the University of Central Florida, where a groundskeeping union was decertified, those 400 jobs have been privatized, and those workers will no longer be contributing to their pensions, and all future workers will not get a pension. right? I mean, that is terrible. That is 400 people's lives that have been really upended by this policy that the Republicans support and that Trump supports.
Yeah, as for your claim on Ron DeSantis in Florida, I'd have to dig more into that because I trust Ron DeSantis, and I know he's the best Republican governor, actually the best governor in the United States as well. He did the best with COVID as well. But pivoting back to the Keystone Pipeline for a second, it would produce more oil. Joe Biden did cancel it, and many other regulations to produce more oil in the country. We are producing less oil. We are dipping into our reserves. We cannot make good deals with Saudi Arabia and other countries because of Joe Biden, Democrats, and their trading conflicts in Ukraine. And that canceled another pipeline for natural gas to flow from Russia. So there's been a lot of problems created with the Biden administration that Democrats do. Now going back to the NALC, Trump thought of an idea of privatization. He just wanted to come in and think how to reform the post office or help fix its loss of billions of dollars under a law from 2006 that would pre-fund 75 years worth of retirement health benefits. So
that the Democrats
we have
overturned.
Issues from way back.
The Democrats repealed that law.
For what?
They just repealed it. They took away the pre-funding mandate. The Republicans had an opportunity to do that, and they did not, right?
I'd have to dig more into it, but regardless, though, the post office has, an operating revenue that's billions of dollars, and we're losing billions of dollars as well.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
So,
yeah, but it is true that the pre-funding mandate was put forward in 2006, and just to illustrate the absurdity of it for people. And it was pushed by, that was done under Bush. It did have some support from Democrats. More Republicans supported it than Democrats, I think. But it required the post office to set aside the revenue to pre-fund retiree health care for 75 years into the future. No other organization does that. No private company does that. No federal agency does that. They did that specifically to make it look as if the post office is in debt so that, and this is conjecture, but I think this is what happens, so that then Republicans can point to the post office and say, look how in debt it is. Let's privatize it so that we can bring it out of debt, even though they are the ones that saddled this agency with so much debt to make it. I mean, it's the sabotage of public service is kind of the MO of, right-wing governance. But yes, the pre-funding mandate was very bad, and I am thankful that one of the few things that Biden and Democrats did over the last 4 years was repeal it.
Well, Biden wasn't president in 2006, but so
yes,
going to Project 2025 as well.
They repealed it in like 2022.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the pre-funding mandate was signed by Bush in 2006, and it was repealed by Biden and the Congress in 22, 23, something like that, fairly recently.
Yeah, and going to back to when you were talking about Project 2025, you falsely claimed that Republicans and Donald Trump have this plan called Project 2025. July 30th, 2004. Trump campaign statement on Project 2025. President Trump's campaign has been very clear for over a year that Project 2025 had nothing to do with the campaign, did not speak to the campaign, it should not be associated with the campaign, nor the president anyway. So everything you said about Project 2025 is just Democrat propaganda that you're spewing. By the way,
on the Project 2025 thing, it is true that officially the Trump the Trump campaign did not draw up this document. But if there was a think tank that had previous high-level officials in the Obama administration that had people that was associated with the Trump campaign, that had people that were going to be in a future, just imagine all of this for Democrats. Like it was produced by the Heritage Foundation, which has its payroll is like entirely former and future Republican administration officials. And so like the idea that it's completely separate from Trump is kind of like does not make sense to me. And further does not make sense to me because he said, I disavow Project 25, or I don't like Project 2025. I don't know if he said disavow, but he tried to put himself some distance between himself and Project 2025. But there was not a single policy, and you can correct me, maybe you can. There was not a single policy that I'm aware of that Project 2025 put forward that Trump specifically denounced. And so what he did was put distance between himself and the unpopular policies of Project 2025 without ever actually saying, no, I'm not going to do it. And that, I think I do not trust politicians that much, I guess. I don't take their word for it that much. I have to see a little bit more concrete kind of commitments to oppose some of these problems in Project 2025. I mean, does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I can hear your truth telling with saying that Project 2025 was created by the Heritage Foundation and not Donald Trump. So, I mean, you did answer that question, and you said Donald Trump does not technically endorse that. But is there certain things within the bill he's not denouncing? What, is he supposed to go over every single one? Come on. So he just says it entirely as Project 25. I do not endorse the whole, as a whole. And then pivoting back into NALC and why we shouldn't endorse a presidential candidate creates this argument. Here we are. This is stupid. Okay. The NALC should just focus on House bills like it has on its website. Protect Our Letter Carriers Act, HR 7629. There's Social Security Fairness Act. There's Federal Retirement Fairness. You need Republicans and Democrats. So if you're going to endorse a Democratic president, as a union member myself as an NALC, and I know many coworkers of mine who voted for Trump, well, we're not looking at it like I should vote for Harris Waltz or Joe Biden at the time because this will ensure my job security and safety. No, we're not looking at it like that. It's a broad picture of the economy, the border, wars, just way more. The education in our schools, what's happening with trans, indoctrination. It's a wide range. We're not going to just stand behind our union at the top because it's better for the job. And that's a lot of opinion based because you need Republicans and Democrats to pass House bills to improve the job at this job in particular, because it's a federal job.
And we're gonna need to get close to wrapping it up. I see we've had you on for like 10 minutes and so, but I agree that unions should have a broader view of politics than just what's good for my individual members at this short period of time. I do think that we should be looking at the conditions of the working class broadly, and we should be allies of the working class broadly. And I think that means being on the side of workers who are immigrants, workers who are LGBT, and other things like that as well. I think that it's important to be on the side of those folks against attacks that look pretty scary. I'm married. I am hoping to have children at some point here in the future, and being in Alabama where abortion is outlawed and with a similar law that has killed women across the country is very concerning. The idea that that my wife could be
you can leave the state.
Yeah, well, yeah, we could leave the state. Yeah, we could leave our whole family. We could leave my job. We could leave everything. We could do that, but that sucks. That sucks a
There's
freaking
still
lot.
To protect her
right?
life. She's not going to die.
Well,
She's not going to die. They will help her in the hospital.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and just say I appreciate your call. I would encourage you to unplug from the right-wing propaganda, and because Republicans don't give a damn about us.
No, I'm not going to unplug.
Democrats don't give a damn about us. There's a lot of information that you're listening to that I think is questionable. I'm not aware of trans indoctrination happening in schools, for example. To your point, Jacob, I stand with all working people, not with billionaires. I stand with all working folks, regardless of what they look like, where they come from, what they talk like, what they look like. If you work for a living, you're on my side and I'm on your side. And that's a little bit different than, alliances to politicians. I don't have loyalty to particular parties or politicians, certainly not billionaires. And so, I appreciated the conversation, but lots of misinformation.
We did go a little long on that, and you can always call back again. But 15 minutes is about where we need to start bringing on.
We got other callers on the line.
Other callers on the line. Women have died. Like, that's just true. And just because it's rare, like, it didn't happen before. Like, women didn't die before,
listen,
right? I mean, at least because they didn't die because they needed an abortion because of, because of like health complications or something. Like, that just didn't happen before. And now it does in states like Alabama.
Well, there's politics that's grounded in material reality, and then there's magical thinking. And I've heard from people today that, well, I don't think he's going to do things that he says he believes in, that all of his backers believe in, all the interests behind him believe in and support. I think he doesn't actually want to do that.
Yeah. Or he won't be able to do that because other people will oppose him. He'll try to do this, but other people will oppose him. And so there you go.
But what about the fact that it's bad?
Right.
Right. Like, that is kind of a point, that if someone wants to do bad things to me, I'm concerned about that. Like, I hope that they can't pull it off, but that's separate. That's just, it's just interesting, some of the issues that come up to people, because, like, as far as I know, trans folks are 1%, 2%, 3% of the population. I know that LGBT folks in general are less than 10% of the population. Yeah. Haven't ever done anything to me.
No.
Not ever. Have loved ones in those categories, and they're not the ones running the system, turns out. Turns out a handful of billionaires actually own America and run this country.
Yeah. And that's why, and like, fundamentally, my whole political outlook is shaped by the fact that I believe billionaires and bosses have too much power and working people need more power.
Right.
And to do that, I think that to do that, at least unions make the argument typically that you have more space to move under Democrats as unions than you do under Republicans. You just come under more attack under Republicans. And so, but that does not, like, if you listen to, I hope that the letter carriers and particularly the ones that are Trump supporters and don't appreciate our politics. I hope that, I don't know. I was about to say, I hope that you'll keep tuning in, because we criticize Biden, or we criticize, Democrats and stuff relatively regularly, but we're going to have a Trump administration. And so, anytime that we criticize the Trump administration, they're going to say that, oh, you're just partisans and you have, Trump derangement syndrome or whatever. But, I hope that you'll listen to, when we criticize, when Trump does things that we should criticize. And letter carriers, we will be on your side when Trump tries to privatize the Postal Service. We'll be part of the force against it.
That's absolutely true. I mean, the reality is that the working class has been getting its ass kicked for over 50 years of neoliberalism, which has been embraced by both parties, but by the Republican Party more so than the Democratic Party. Not to excuse the Democratic Party at all, but to just acknowledge reality that you have a far-right party versus basically a centrist party.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality. On display for 2024, we got to choose between preserving a broken status quo or just making it all worse, which is what is probably going to happen, right?
Yeah, we got other callers, and he's in the chat saying if you had to drop my call, it's because I was proving you wrong and myself correct. That's not true. You spent 15 minutes.
We gave you plenty of airtime, and we
have
other callers.
And you can call back again. We can make it a regular thing. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.